everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's been a while since I've seen you, and that's for various reasons. We kind of have a two-parter video today. The first part is going to be me doing that update on my July readathons that I promised you guys months ago, and the second part will be my September reading wrap-up. So I know that, it's October now, and I should have done this wrap up for these readathons like 2 months ago, but it's been a really crazy time for me. I had a big setback with my health, with my chronic illness, that kind of put me out of commission for like 2.5 weeks, or maybe closer to 3, I don't know, but I was pretty unfunctionable there for a while, unfortunately, so that really set me back. And I've also taken on the social media and communications role for my church, which has been a learning process in the last few weeks as well. So I've been pretty busy with that once I got over, my health setback. But anyway, the point is that it's been a while, and so I'm finally getting to this video. But first, before that, I want to have a really special announcement. I wrote a short story, and it was picked up by White Crown for one of their Royal Princess moments. So I will put the link in the description box below if you're interested in that. It's called A Prince Comes Home, and it is kind of a prodigal son retelling in a royal short story. So yeah, I'm really excited. This is like my first, well, it's not my first published short story, but it's kind of like, in my way of thinking, my first published short story. Because the first short story I got published was when I was in college, and I won my university's short story contest, and the prize was a little cash prize and then having it published in the alumni magazine. But since I was still a student and not an alumni, I didn't have access to the alumni magazine, so I never got to see my story published. So I know it was, but I never actually got to see it because I wasn't an alumni, so I didn't get the magazine. But yeah, so this is like the first time that I get to actually see my story in print on this website, so it's really exciting. Anyway, I'll put the link in the description box below if you're interested. It'd be really cool if you checked it out. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started with this wrap up. So in July, I did the Beaches and Books readathon and also the Olympic readathon. And there were 12 prompts for the Beaches and Books and 5 for the Olympic. So for the Beaches and Books, I completed 4 out of 12 prompts. For a book that I saved for later, I read Returns to Bones Hollow, but I'm not sure if I actually finished that in July. I know I've read it, but I can't remember if I read it in July or in August, so I'm not sure if I actually got to it for this readathon. I don't remember, which that's the problem with waiting too long to do this wrap-up, is I don't remember. I know I read it, but I don't remember if I read it for this readathon in July or if I didn't get till August. I'd have to go back and look at my reading wrap-ups for that. Or look at my reading journal, but anyway. Then I read, for a book with yellow on the cover, I was supposed to read Gingham Mountain, but I read Love Finds You in Groom, Texas instead, which was really good. I talked about it in my reading wrap-up. A book with 2 points of view, I read A Choice Considered by Tracy Peterson. And, a 5. No, 2, 3. Yeah, 5, sorry. Not 4 out of 12, 5 out of 12, because I also read a book that I think will be 5 stars, which was Until Our Time Comes by Nicole Miller, her new release, her debut release. And that was really good. And then for reading a book during a rainstorm was Love's Fortune by Laura France, which I read when we were getting hit with Hurricane Beryl, so that's definitely a rainstorm. But I ended up DNFing this later because I found it really depressing. And then for the Olympic readathon, they had a book with gold on the cover, which I also used Love Finds You in Groom, Texas for. And then read for 3 hours straight. I'm pretty sure I completed that. I don't know. I usually read for a long time, but I'm not sure that I really timed it ever. And I don't know, what do you count as 3 hours straight? Does like bathroom breaks or drink breaks count? Because I've definitely taken those. So maybe I didn't do it, but I'd say I did. And then watch 4+ Olympic events. I definitely did that because I watched a lot of Olympics during the Olympics. So I read 1 book for that and completed 2 kind of general prompts. And those are the wrap up for those readathons. I did not do very well on either readathon, but like I mentioned in my July wrap up video, like I was on vacation and I thought I'd have more downtime on vacation and I didn't, so it happens. So those are those reading wrap ups, and I'm sorry that it took me so long to get to them. Like I said, my life has been crazy and I've had some health setbacks, so what are you going to do about that? Yes. However, going on to my September reading wrap up, I actually was very successful in September. I had 8 books that I finished in September, and really I think that we can thank my health setback for that, because for like 2.5 weeks, and that was kind of in like towards the end of August, towards the beginning of September, that I had this health setback. And so for like 2.5 weeks, I couldn't do anything during the day. Like I wasn't functioning very well. So I had lots of time to read because that was the only thing that I really had energy for, was sitting in my chair with a book or maybe a TV show, but you know, doing really nothing. So I read a lot of books in September because I wasn't really able to do much else. Anyway, so I read the 3 Hearts on this Heath book by Christiane Hunter. So that's number 1 is Vying for the Viscount. Number 1 is Vying for the Viscount. Number 2 is Winning the Gentleman. And number 3 is Enchanting the Heiress. They were all 3 really, really good. This one was these 3 were in my 24 in 24 book prompt, because I had tried to read this series like maybe a year ago, maybe 2 years ago now, I can't remember, but I started Vying for the Viscount and then I put it down in like the first 5 chapters because I don't know, I couldn't really get into it. I found it really slow in the beginning, but my friend who read them, she was like, look, I found it really slow in the beginning, you just have to get through the beginning and it gets better. So I finally picked them back up in September, and she was right. Once I got through like the first 5 chapters, it actually picked up and I really ended up enjoying it. I gave it 4 stars. And I probably would have given it 5 stars except for that really slow beginning, because like I really had to slog through the beginning, I felt like, to get to the good part, and so that's why it's only 4 stars. But the second book, Winning the Gentleman, I gave 5 stars. I really, really enjoyed it. I loved the male character in Winning the Gentleman. He is a side character, like a very brief side character in Christiane Hunter's series that she does on the women that take in the illegitimate children. I forget the name of that series, but he's like a friend to one of the main guys in the first book of that series. So he's a minor side character in that series, and now we get to know him better in this series, and so it's really great. He was one of my favorite characters of the series as a whole. I really, really enjoyed his character. And so I really enjoyed Winning the Gentleman. And then the third book, Enchanting the Heiress, I gave that one 4 stars. I liked the guy in this book as well. The girl annoyed me off and on, I'm going to be honest. But I did like her for the most part. But I only gave it 4 stars. So I just didn't think that it was as good as the second book. The second book was really, really good. The next book I read was The Trials of the Title by Joy Crane. And this one is the second book in her Royals of Andalar series. I was actually on the launch team for this one. And it was, wow. I gave it 5 stars, but it was a really hard book. I mean, it was beautifully written, and the thing is that the main female character has spent her whole life dealing with abuse from her father, very badly. Her mother and her sister dealt with it as well. And so a lot of this book takes place right after his death, and she has to kind of go on this, she goes on a journey to look for her sister because her father banished her sister several years ago. So after he passes away, she decides to go find her sister and bring her back home. But while on this journey, she's dealing with, you know, her grief, but also her hatred for her father and everything he put her through, and also all of her trauma and her pain from having such an abusive childhood. And then we have our main guy, who he was the brother of the main guy in the first book of the series, and he's great, he's amazing, but he falls from his horse and gets amnesia, so he's kind of being taken care of by her and her family. And so yeah, I'm not going to get too much into it, but I would just say it deals with very, very heavy topics, specifically abuse, but I think that the author handles it so well. She's just so tactful and so deft in her handling of it. I found it very, very beautiful, and the spiritual lessons in it are so beautiful, and so I gave it 5 stars, but I do want to warn you, it is a heavily emotional, traumatic book, but it was really, really good. It's really good. Okay. The next book that I read was actually a nonfiction book, which is right here. And that is The Alpine Path by Ellen Montgomery, and this is just a memoir of what influenced her career and her writing. It was super, super short, as you can see, super short, but I gave it 4 stars. It wasn't exactly what I was expecting, because, I mean, it's supposed to be the story of her career, but it's kind of more like a series of little vignettes about her childhood and her growing up in her life, and how those did affect her writing career. But I didn't find it as much about her career as much as it's just like, oh, when I was a child I did this, or when I got married we went on this trip, or things like that. And she does talk about things that affected, like, her writing. For example, she talks about the things that from her books that were influenced by her writing, or by the things from her books that were influenced by her childhood and stuff. She'd be like, oh, when I was 5 I did this summer, and that's what inspired this in The Story Girl, or something like that. But yeah, I gave it 4 stars because it was interesting. I just it wasn't quite what I was expecting. Okay, the next book I read was, and I actually have these books. I don't know why I didn't pull them out of my shelf. Hold on. Okay. The next book I read was Beyond Ivy Walls by Rachel Fordham. I was so, so excited for this release because The Letter Tree, which I read early in the year, was so good. I mean, it's probably going to be one of my favorite books this year. We'll see. So I was really, really excited for this one. This one I gave 4 stars. It's kind of a Beauty and the Beast style retelling. I didn't like it as much as The Letter Tree, but I did really, really enjoy it. This is my second Rachel Fordham book to read, and I will definitely be reading more of her. Yeah, it was just really good. I did really enjoy it. It's set in Iowa in 1903, and it has some, like, interesting historical things in it that are very, the main girl, she works at a feather duster factory, so I know the author did a lot of research into feather duster factories from, like, 1903, and so there are a lot of, like, true historical facts in there that it's just like, wow, I didn't know that, and I really appreciated all the detail that the author gave to her research, because it really added another layer to the story that was very believable and very good. And I love the 2 main characters. I think they were great together. I do think that, like, there was this whole little misunderstanding thing when the main girl kept something from him that I was like, oh, but you could have, like, I felt like it went a little bit against her character to keep that against her, because, like, she is very honest, and she, throughout the book, like, blurts a lot of things that she probably shouldn't. She's not good at keeping secrets, and yet she kept this secret, and I was like, you know, misunderstanding plots are very popular in novels. They happen a lot. But I was like, but this this misunderstanding plot I felt like was kind of against her character and just there for the plot, and it didn't make a lot of sense to me. But I still loved it. I still thought it was a beautiful book. I love the spiritual journey that they both go on, especially him. He has to get over a lot of bitterness from his childhood, and he goes on a beautiful and natural journey to do it, and I love the way he learned to trust the Lord, and yeah, it's a really good book, and I definitely do recommend it. And then the next one that I read was Meeting Her Match by Jen Torreno. This is the third book in the Matchmaker series, and I gave it 5 stars. It was so good. Like, there are some things that happen in this book that you're like, okay, that's a little off the mark, like a little outlandish, but still, it made me laugh out loud so much. Like, I was just sitting in bed laughing out loud while I read it, and I like, if a book, like I find books funny, but I don't often like burst out laughing like out loud at them. So if a book makes me full on laugh out loud, like, you know, it's got something special, and this book had me cracking up. So yeah, I loved it. I love the main characters. I love the guy's family. Like, so many good things in this book, and I definitely recommend it. It was 5 stars. And then the 8th and final book that I read was Suzanne Woods Fisher's Love on a Whim, which is the 3rd book in her Cape Cod Creamery series. I gave this book 3 stars. It wasn't my favorite. It was okay, certainly, but I didn't love it. It's probably my least favorite of the whole Cape Cod Creamery series. And yeah, there was a lot going on, and I was annoyed a lot at what was happening. Like, the main couple didn't interact much for most of the book, but I mean, that's kind of another thing. The main girl, I liked her. I liked the journey she went on. I thought it was really great, and I really enjoyed her storyline. I also enjoyed Marnie's storyline, Dawn's mother. I thought she and her boyfriend had a great storyline. Her boyfriend also had his own great storyline. But, you know, what annoyed me most in this book was Dawn, who is the main character of the first book in the Cape Cod Creamery series. And I just found her so annoying. Like, really, really annoying. And I thought it was weird because I was like, she learned all these lessons in the first book, and it's like she's forgotten them all in this book. Like, she is back to her original, haven't had any growth character. And yeah, she annoyed me a lot. And she's like one of the very big reasons that I only gave this book 3 stars, because I was just sitting there going like, why? What is, no, stop it. Stop. But yeah, I really, really, really disliked her in this book. But I like the main character of this book, which I think her name is Bryn. So yes, I gave it 3 stars. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. For me, 3 stars is just kind of like, it's there, you know? Like, it's okay. But yeah. So that is all 8 books that I read in September. Thank you guys so much for your patience with me and this channel. I'm sorry that I've been kind of AWOL lately. But yeah, I definitely hope that October will have some more content in it. I have like several ideas for new videos, but like I said, I was really out of commission with my health at the beginning of September, so just nothing got done. But I have ideas, and I hope to get to them this month. But anyway, thank you guys so much for just being here and listening to me ramble on about books. It really is something that I love to talk about. So, yes, I hope to see you soon.